Here, I'm going to show you how to log detailed observations in the eOceans app. This is for anyone, including scientists, citizen scientists, fishers, professional or recreational ocean explorers, or anyone who really wants to drill down to document the health of their ocean to make sure that smart decisions are made. This is especially important as our ocean spaces get busier and ecosystems become more vulnerable. Let's dive in. Okay, once you've downloaded the app, created and verified an account, you make sure you're in the right place. Here you will log in and you will see your profile. Here's my profile. So if you haven't yet started, you wouldn't see any observations here. So I'm going to show you mine. So here's all my previous observations of coastlines, oceans, and lakes. And each one of these you can drill in and you can see more information. So here is a recent observation where if I open it up, I can add photos from my camera roll there if I wanted to. I can click the pencil to edit. Some features are editable. And there's the date, time, location. So I didn't have to record those. It came automatically from my phone because I'm logging in real time on the coastline. And my activity, you can see there, was walking. The observations I had at that point in time was some birds that I couldn't identify and some cormorants. And then I also logged the surface conditions. It was cloudy and it was quite clear at that time. And I don't think I logged any water conditions. And then here below, you can see all the that observation went to all these different teams. We love the Bay of Fundy, heat wave impacts, e-whale, and so on. So it looks at all those, eOceans is super smart. It looks at all the projects that you've joined. So if you've only joined one project, it only looks at that one project and says, hey, do we want to share it based on the location, activity, and observations? Or if you've joined 1,000 projects, it looks at all those thousands of projects and it looks at your location, the activity that you were doing, and the observation you made to say what is relevant to share where. So you never have to say, oh, I'm going to share this observation to that project or this observation to that project. It does it automatically for you once you've joined projects. Okay, so now that's one type of observation. I'll go back. That's a single observation. So you can see I have many of these single observations where I have been logging all the information at each of those time points. Usually when I'm by the ocean for many hours and I might not have the battery to, be logging all the time, or I want to enjoy my time while I'm there, I will just set an alarm and every 30 minutes I'll stop, I'll pick up my binoculars and I'll do a log, and it helps me really enjoy the space and really pay attention to what's around me and also contribute to science. So here, the other type of log is a track. So here I was whale watching, and that top image is just a summary of where and what we're doing. And here is the track. So it starts in one location, and then I'm making all these observations along the route, which is also really cool because often when I go out to sea, I lose track of where I am compared to where I started. And so I love to see at the end that this is where I was off Briar Island, looking for whales. And we also found puffins and other things. So here again, my activity was whale watching, and I had binoculars, so I'm able to see further and to see better. So I have a little bit better observations. And each one of these below is one of those observations, like the single I showed you before. And anyone can be opened up to see what was there and all the projects that it went to. And you can see that I didn't always record a picture. So sometimes I felt like taking a picture, and so I took a picture, and so on. All right. And then, so that's what observations look like. So here, there's another track here where we saw a sleeping humpback whale, and I have, again, this is what our track looked like, and we made these observations along the way. Okay, so now we want to log. So to start a log, we go over to the plus button, and you're given two options, the single or the track. And they're both essentially the same thing. Track, you're given the singles each time you open it up to log, and I'll show you that. But let's start with singles. So single, I'm not out at sea, so I can't get a picture of the scene like I showed you, but here I will just do it of an image in my living room here. And so here we don't really want you to get close to animals. There's no need to get close to animals to take an image of the exact animal we don't expect. For example, the humpback whale, for you to get under the water and to take an image, it's enough for you to say you were there and to log the humpback whale. So then if you have joined, so there's this ID please, that's coming soon. The manual log, that's if you have joined a project that has after the fact logging. So there you will have site lists of all the species of all. If you've joined a project that has a list of sites, then you can log after the fact. But eOceans doesn't have any of those projects. They're all local projects where local sites get loaded, and only people who have trusted community of contributors are logging in there. So we won't show that here, but just to let you know that that is possible. The second, so then there's the observations on that site or at that specific location. So there's three types. There's species, humans, and environment. So if you didn't see any species, for example, you could say none. Or you can open it up and you can choose these across the top. Once you've logged a few things, this will be your recents, so you don't have to go in and search every time. You can just add from your recents. Or you can, let's go back, or you can search. So let's say in the case of a humpback whale, you saw a humpback whale, and that's what it is. And then you can add the number and you can drill in. So say you saw 5 humpback whales, you can then go in, see across the top here, it says humpback whale all. Or if you had, let's say you wanted to log each one separately in the behavior and the size and the sex, etc., you can log each one separately, or you can log them all. This is up to you and depends on the project that you're working on. And within each, you can also, so in the case of strandings, or if you're catching and releasing animals or catching and retaining them, then you can be logging. So in the case of fisheries assessments or a mark recapture study, you can record the interaction. So did you just observe it? Did you catch and retain it? Or did you catch and release that animal? Then the status, was it dead? So if you come across a dolphin or a seal on the beach and it's dead, or if it's just a skeleton that's left, so long since dead, or if it's alive, or if it's stranded, so in the case of whales that have ended up on the beach and they're stranded. You can also record the sex if you know what it is, or unknown, and you can record the age and size class. So if it's an adult, juvenile, neonate, spat, that's for tiny corals, for example, young of the year, length, weight, age. And then there's the markings. So if you found any diseases, or if they're injured, or if they have parasites, or if they're starved or bleaching, because don't forget, eOceans has 200,000 species to log on. So all of these things need to relate to all the species. If anything's missing, let us know and we can easily add it in so that you can log it. And then there's the behavior. So sometimes we see, we're lucky to see some sharks that are mating, or we see some whales that are foraging or spy hopping or feeding, biting, etc. Again, if anything's missing, let us know. Then you put save and you can add more species. There's a cool thing here that I didn't show earlier, but let's say if you don't know the species, so if you saw something and you're like, I'm not sure, then you can actually click on see the FG. That stands for field guide. So I can open up the field guide and then I can look at the differentiating features for some species. We don't have all the species yet. That would be too many, but we're starting it. Okay, so let's say we saw Pacific bluefin tuna and we saw 3 of them and save. Now we move on to the humans part. So these are people that are enjoying the space. So they could be surfers that are really enjoying the space. This is important because if, let's say, there's an accident, like an oil spill or anything like that, a pollution event, then we can understand how that pollution event impacted the social dimensions of that ocean space. It's also going to be important with climate change, how humans are changing. It's not only the ecological or the biological dimensions, but also the social, ecological, socio-cultural, and economic values of our ocean spaces. And then you can also record under pollution, you can record any, or under humans, you can record any pollution that you may see, such as cigarette butts. And there's a difference here. Why are there two cigarette butts? That's because there's two types. One is you found a cigarette butt, so that was deposited at another time, potentially another location, or there's active littering. So if you see someone actively littering, that's a different type of observation. Then next thing is the environment. So you can click on that. There's surface conditions. So I typically record the cloud cover because that's fairly easy for me to record, and the atmospheric haze. You can also record wind direction, rain swell, temperature, as well as water conditions such as surface temperature, bottom temperature, water visibility. So that's really important. If you're scuba diving, how far you can see determines what you can see. Tide state, as well as dissolved oxygen, pH, water level, conductivity, turbidity, fecal coliform, microplastics, and more. Habitat is still coming soon. It's quite complicated, so we haven't yet added that. And then the last component, so that's super easy, right? You take a photo, you say what species, what humans, what the environment looks like. The last thing is to choose what your activity is. So if you're fishing or surfing, you can choose those. If you're walking, binoculars means that you can see further and see better. And then the last thing to do is to add your field notes, anything you want to add about the observation. And there you're going to review it and then showcase. So you might make 100 observations in a day, and most of them might be of nothing or pretty boring. And so you might choose to showcase just one or two so that the people who are following you know you were out there, know some interesting things you saw or some boring things you saw. And then you press save. And I'm not going to save because I don't want my observation, a test observation, to go to all the different teams. So I'm going to press discard. And that's it for logging. Okay, so you can see how easy it is to log a lot of valuable information through the eOceans app, and then to share it with as many teams as you want to make a difference for the ocean. And please follow me inside the app so that you can see what I'm seeing, and I love to follow you to learn what you're seeing in your part of the ocean. Together, we can make a difference for the ocean by understanding what's happening locally and globally for the ocean, for us.